In what ways has transitioning changed you internally, not specifically related to your gender specifically? I was journaling today and was thinking of all the internal changes that have happened since I transitioned. For examples, since transitioning, I have developed an unshakable confidence, learned and developed a resilience I never thought possible, learned how to forgive and let go, learned new healthy ways of coping. Just to name a few. So often we focus on the specifics of transition as it relates to our gender, but I think it's equally interesting and exciting to think of other ways transition has changed us. So to those of us that have been able to transition, in what way has it changed you, not specifically related to your gender? That's a good question.
What a good question. And they bring up a lot of really good points because, like, it's true. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a magic medicine that like heals so much of you. I think a lot of times, like they said, that people get so wrapped up and because, you know, how do you not? It's such a big deal about, like, you know, the physical aspect or like getting that, but like that freeing of your soul just solves so many problems. Like, when I've heard it described before by other transgender people, that one of the phenomenons of starting HRT is like a fog lifts. Like it's like you're living your life underneath like a wet blanket, and like after a couple weeks on HRT, like your mind clears up and you start noticing. And I can say that uncategorically that was true for me. It's like I had no idea like the fog I was living under, because you don't know anything else. And like it's like all of a sudden I saw beauty where I'd never seen beauty, and like my senses were so keen and so sharp, and like my perception just went up, and like my sense of taste got better. I saw color better. I heard sounds better. Like I noticed things. And that's just because when you've got the wrong hormonal balance, which all transgender people do, it sucks and it fucks up every aspect of your life. So aside from just like the physical things, it's also the emotional, it's the mental stuff. It just affects everything.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of like some of this might be attributed to starting HRT, when it's really just like you're at a point in your life where you're doing a self-inventory and thinking about these things. And so I often talk about, like you said, learn how to forgive and let go. Like regret for me, like me getting over regret had nothing to do with starting HRT. It became more with me learning how to identify who I was and changing my life because of my transition. But I don't think the medication necessarily helped that. So I think this probably happens to a lot of people because, I mean, aside from trans people, who's critically examining who they are and how they want to exist in the world? You know, we're not taught to be self-reflective. We're not taught to think about who we are and how we fit in the world in those kinds of ways. And so you're kind of on this journey where you're, you know, examining your life and consciously choosing a new path to go, and you're consciously defining yourself. So yeah, all these things, how to cope, how to let go of things, how to forgive things. I think, you know, I did a lot of those things before I started hormones, but by the time I was ready to start hormones, I was like really ready to start hormones.
Well, yeah.
You know, and I think
it's not just that, but I also wanted to just make it clear that like it's like transitioning is much more than just the hormones. Like HRT is medicine that helps fix the hormonal balance, but the whole process of a transition is like, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot, and you have to do that. And it's like you just said, like it is rebuilding and reevaluating your entire life and your place in the world, and it changes so much and it affects so many different things. But so it's not just the HRT, but like with HRT, like, and with transitioning, like it's such an impactful, overwhelming, all-encompassing thing that it's impossible to separate the wheat from the chaff in a lot of ways, or like detangle the roots or the spaghetti, because like you can say, well, the HRT did this, or I was at a place in my life where this happened, or whatever it was, because of a developmental thing, but like they're all related and they're all intertwined so much that it really doesn't matter what was the cause of it or what was the specific thing. And I just wanted to make that point because I think a lot of people get wrapped up in those things, and I don't want to do that.
I just also want to make sure like people didn't think like if they weren't starting medication that they couldn't do these things. I think the one thing that really, if
but it
helps. Like, it does help. It does help clear that mind fog. I would say one thing that stood out to me that, like, to answer your question was, I already didn't kind of care what people thought about me. And that's become even stronger. Like, I have my own agenda. I live my life on my own agenda. I don't really give a shit about what people think about me, which is necessary in this day and age. I think if you're going to be trans, is you have to be solid in who you are and happy with yourself.
I'd make an addendum to that too, because I don't think that, like, it's not that you don't care about what people think, it's you don't care about what certain people think. Okay, because definitely, like, you can't take that out of the room. We all care what people think. Like, that's like everything. You're not just going through life just like pissing on every relationship, every person, or estranging yourself from other people. There's no way that's possible, even if that's a narrow spectrum.
You know, we talked about the comments earlier. Like, I've done stuff where someone said something online and I let it bother me all day, and it's just like, none of that stuff scares me. Like, I understand, like, you know what, people hate trans people. Cool, good for you. If you want to go through your life hating people, that's on you. That's not on me.
I'll bet. I mean, Candy Spelling cared so much about what they were saying about her daughter that she turned off her messages. She turned off her messages.
But I would say, you know, that confidence, I think that comes from, you know, Amanda always says the only way to be confident is to act confident, and then you'll get confident. And part of that is like, you start your transition and you're confident because for the first time in your life, you're not trying to be someone else, you know, so that confidence comes with that. And that's just confidence begets more confidence.
So many problems.
Yeah.
Like the neurosis that comes from being in the closet and trying to uphold an identity that isn't authentic is just like, it's just a hotbed. It's a petri dish for, like, just every neurosis, every psychological issue, every emotional problem under the sun. It's a lot of the reason why a lot of trans people are just so fucked up. It's just like, it's a rough total hole. It's a rough total hole, or was that the word? That phrase didn't sound right.
That's a tough
row to hoe. Toe to hoe.
Row to hoe.
Row to toe.
just keep going. Just keep talking right through it.
Tough.
Just talk right through it.
You got to carry it's a big suitcase to lug around.
There you go.
Yeah, that's it. You got to carry that.
Yeah.
You can carry that weight, like Paul McCartney said.
Yeah. I also think it's helpful, like journaling. Like, I don't journal as much as I used to, but before I started transition, but when I went through, like, a divorce after being married for a long period of time, like, having that space where I can hold, I would basically write, you know, what I accomplished that day, what I was thankful for, what I wanted to do with my life now that I was at this place where, like, my whole life was in front of me and I had unlimited opportunity to choose where I wanted to go. Using journaling to do that, not only did it help me gain that confidence, but also to kind of help me believe in myself that I can do these things, which I guess is confidence. But,
well, yeah, it is. But, you know, like,
it gets you. I think journaling is great when you have those things, those nagging things that you can address those while journaling. Those nagging things in the back of your mind that have you, self-doubt and fears, and you can address those in journaling and really kind of talk about what it is you want and what you want your life to be.
I'll tell you another thing about journaling now that you mention it, because I when I first started transitioning, I kept an audio journal.
Yeah.
And I did that intentionally for a couple reasons. And one, because, like you said, it's therapeutic and it helps you and it builds your confidence and all that stuff. But another reason, which I do strongly recommend if you've got the means to do this, is because it helped me practice my voice.
Yeah.
And so that gave me a time to just talk and work on new things and just do that. And so it's a little piece of advice that I do actually recommend to anyone, like, thinking of transitioning or wanting to start a transition, because, like, you know, not everybody wants to work on their voice, but a lot of us do. And yeah, I know, you're amazing. But I did. I worked at my voice. I crafted it. You know, it's what it is. I don't know. I think it's all right. But, like,
that's great.
You know, like, everyone hates their own voice. But, like,
true.
But, like, it was because I did that in part. And also I have like an audio record of like the first 6 months of my transition, which is not something that everyone gets. I haven't actually listened to them ever. Like they're just sitting there, but I've got them. But I was like, I'm a little afraid to listen to them because it's like, oh, I don't want to hear how bad I sounded. And like, I don't want to hear how awkward I was and how fucked up I was. Like, but then there's a part of me that like wants to do that.
But
no.
but you've gotten past that. So think of it more
well,
as
I know, but it's still,
triumph.
it might, it's like opening a wound kind of, you know,
Well,
it's like, we'll see, we'll see.
You can always come if you get a boo-boo. I'll kiss it and make it better. Yeah, you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to help. But yeah, I'm so like, this is I love this. I think people who are early in their transition or are worried about transitioning, it's great to hear from people. It's just like what we always say, like, you're on the first step of an amazing journey. You're going to change so much. You're going to define yourself. You're going to get rid of all those things that you're doing because you're trying to fit in or you're trying not to be who you are. And it's going to be like dropping a heavy load that you've been carrying your whole life. And yeah, amazing question and amazing things to think about. And I think one thing is if you are transitioning and you feel like you're stuck, and I see that a lot, people like, I've been on HRT for 6 months and it doesn't feel like anything. Like, it doesn't feel like anything because you're not noticing the incremental changes. Like, really just stop and take inventory of like how much you've changed and think about that. And
I've heard that too. I've heard more than a few people say things like that, and that boggles my mind because I thought that for 6 months, like, so much changed. Yeah, it's like I don't know how anyone could not notice that. But I suppose it does affect everyone
it's because first of all, it affects everyone different, and that thing we always talk about was like, get that picture out of your mind, that expectations that you're going to turn into something. And so it might be a case if you're looking in the mirror every day. And it might be a case where you might not be out to everyone. So if you're taking hormones for 6 months, but you're still boy moding or whatever you want to call it, yeah, you might not see those changes in the mirror. But you might also feel slows it down. You also might feel it in your skin. Yeah. Like your skin is going to be softer. And no, your face shape is not going to change in 6 months. Mine did. Mine did for sure. Oh my God, why do you do this to me?
Because it's what you said an absolute, and it's not true.
I would say like, here's the thing. It's like, after when I first started taking it, I started like a week later. I was like, I think my lips are changing. All right.
You don't notice it.
You'll go to someone who you haven't seen in 6 months, and they'll notice it. But you've seen a little tiny ant step every day.
I've also spent a lot of my life practicing objectivity and like removing myself from a situation. It's not, it's an impossible feat. You can't actually do it, but like I've practiced it, like, and largely it's for like music and mixing music and like art. And so it's like, so I can take a step back and I can look at something critically and evaluate whether I think it's actually good or not, or if remove my emotions from the situation. It's like, is it good because I made it, or is it good because it's actually good, kind of thing.
Right.
And like, that's a thing I've practiced doing since I was a teenager because I've been making music since then. And it served me well. And so I was able to do it, to the level that one can for that as well. And so it's like I can objectively evaluate myself in the mirror. And what I noticed was that like it's such a gradual thing that you don't notice anything as it's happening. Like, it's like you don't wake up, you look at yourself in the mirror every day, and like for me, multiple times a day, and like most people, I think, and like and you look at yourself in the mirror, you don't look any different than you did yesterday, but you do look different than you did 2 weeks ago, and like, or 3 weeks ago, or 6 weeks ago. And that is a wild trip. Like, when that happens, it's like, because you can't, and for me, it was really hard to pinpoint what it was, but it's like now, like, if I look back at like an old picture and I see what I looked like pre-transition, it's like I remember, like, I remember myself and I remember being that person, but it's so dramatically different.
But I think the thing is, we also live in an age where you can do stuff like, you can take your picture every morning at 8:00 in the same place in your house, and then in 6 months you can put them all together in a video and watch them change, and just have it a second and watch it. And when I first started, I took every Tuesday I took a photo, and that lasted like a month and a half, and then I was just like,
Yeah,
who gives a
no, I don't
fuck?
have the discipline to
I don't
do
have the
anything
discipline for this. I don't have
regularly.
the
It's
discipline-
hard
Look at
enough
me.
for
I
me
don't
to
have the
take my
discipline to do
medicine.
anything. I like literally am just a
I had
shambling
to remember
mound
to
here.
take my meds today.
I had to remind you.
I know.
But yeah, like, you know,
It's like the most important thing in the world to me, and I still forget.
it's okay. It's okay, babe.
I miss my dose all the fucking time. That's actually not all the time, but some.
I
It's
probably
okay
only
to miss
took
a dose once in a while.
I only took my spirulactone like twice last week. I was supposed to take it every day, but spirulactone's less.
I just got back on the Spiro.
I think I'm in a place where it's less important to me. We are way off topic here, so I think it's a great thing to think
Super
about. If you're out there,
important to
even if you're just an ally, think about how you can change your life in regardless of HRT, regardless of your gender. You can change your life, and it is like just thinking about who you want to be and identifying yourself and being that person. And if you're out there and you're on that journey and you're struggling, you know, again, take a look at self-evaluation. Take an inventory of how you've changed. So like you said, you see the same thing. I've been on HRT 6 months and I feel like nothing's happening. Yeah, something's happening. You're just not where you want to be. And I'm guilty of that as anyone else.
I think everyone's...
I set goals, and until I'm at that goal, I'm miserable. And I had to change my whole mindset around that. And
yeah, you really do.
Growth and change as you go.
It's true. And I think that's the thing. And honestly, I'm going to add that other thing, because you mentioned like boy moding and all that. And that does affect it too, because depending on what your transition goals are, everyone's different. And I'm not about to, definitely not scolding anyone for what they have to do or how they approach it. But I have noticed this on almost, I won't say 100%, but I definitely enough to make a correlation with it, which is a lot of people I've known that started transitioning that didn't do it 100% are the ones that have the troubles with it, where it doesn't take and it takes longer than it should. And so if you're if you've got, like I said, everyone's situation is different. Maybe you can't be out at work. Maybe you can't be out to your family, but when you do that, when you split that up, the thing about transitioning is it's more than just taking pills. It's so much more than that. It's an entire process that is you have to change you have to change your lifestyle. You have to learn new ways to do things. Some of that comes naturally with the hormones, but a lot of it is learned behavior and learn things, and you have to unlearn habits and things that you had previously, and if you're not actively participating in that, it's gonna go the way it goes. And so if your transition goals are to pass and if you want to go all the way and go from being male to female and 100% do that, you have to be 100% about it. You can't do it in increments. It doesn't work that way. And that's been my experience. I'm not an expert, but I've seen it a lot.
Well, all right.
It concerns me, 'cause I a lot of the people that I've heard express that, how come your boobs are so big? I've been taking estrogen for a year and a half, and I'm barely an A cup. It's are you out? It's if you're taking estrogen and you're still dressing male and acting male and behaving male and everywhere, but at home, in your bedroom, well, then that's your shit's not going to develop. You have to work with the medicine.
I don't know about that part, but I would say if you're talking about noticing the changes yourself, if you're not fully embracing it 100%, I mean, if you're spending half your day as Bill, the maintenance worker, and then you come home and you try to do it, you're going to see Bill in the mirror. For sure. I don't know if the medicine. True. I don't know if that would stop medicine from making your boobs go, because boob growth is so crazy. Everyone's
wild. Yeah,
it's wild. They're always it'll grow this much or this much, but also it might not grow at all because everything's different and it's weird. And I'm okay, whatever.
It says and they're whatever. How big your mom is how big yours. I'm way past my mom. And also, fenugreek, licorice root.
Okay.
Boobs. You want booba? Take fenugreek and licorice root.
Okay.
Along with your transition meds.
Okay. Cool.